First of all, before the video even starts, if you are somebody that is watching this video or is going to watch it all the way through or stop halfway and then complain about how this is yet another video trashing your favorite game, number one, you're out of touch, and number two, you're wasting your time because nobody cares. So originally I was not going to make this video, but I've been seeing a lot of my, I guess you can say, fellow content creators making videos on this. And although I do not play the game, and I haven't played the game for a while, I've quit, and I actually quit so hard that my last video about Wiz didn't even have Wiz content in it. I actually still care about the game. I've even been told by the devs that they believe that I care about this game and want it to do well, and that is why I'm making this video specifically. And in this video, I am going to be targeting the devs, not just specifically Ratbeard, but the team as well. But Ratbeard, I hope this video finds you because I have a bone to pick with you, and it's not just me, it's hundreds of other people. Because as lead designer, you have been doing a tremendous job leaving this game straight into the garbage. And I'm talking deep at the bottom of the barrel, as Sauce would say. For the past couple of years, and even further than that, as some players might, I guess, explain for their reasons of quitting, you guys have been absolutely 100% unequivocally, exponentially, and if I'm trying to get on Ratbeard's level, colloquially as well, ruining this game. You have been actually ruining this game and have been doing nothing but adding content that, one, the majority of the player base doesn't care about, and two, stuff that does not add to the longevity of this game. It honestly seems like you guys are just trying to cash in on things like the Golden Key update and other pay-to-win strategies, ruin endgame content, and eventually when this game crashes, just cash out on it completely. It really appalls me every time I look back at this game and see where it is and see how many people are complaining. And I know it's right about this time every year that people talk about, oh, the game is dead. But I feel like right now in 2024, like, we're in a year where where the average person, right, not the addict that countlessly and endlessly protects KI and says, don't play if you don't like the game, right? People are going to be passionate about the games they play, even if they don't play them anymore, because there needs to be a change in direction. But I feel like in 2024, the slop that keeps getting added to the game is just completely unacceptable. And I feel like the devs have no idea what the player base actually wants and continues to release slop after slop. So these are just things that I've compiled that I want to talk about. I'm pretty sure somebody could put together a list 10 times this size, but these are just things that I want to talk about specifically. Low-level PvP was completely abandoned, and if you want more on that topic, I already made a video about it. Re-speccing training points are still crowns only, despite the factor of needing to retrain for PvP and other PvE activities, and utilizing the Rochambeau being utterly crucial for changing strategies based on the meta. And on that topic, you're essentially forced to buy membership and wait for KI to roll the free training point buyback. Stitching is still for crowns. I know they have that little wonky free stitch token that I'm pretty sure only lasts for like one hat or one robe, and you still have to put your outfit up. And most people vote for like lame outfits anyway. I'm not even going to get into that. But stitching as a whole is still for crowns years and years later. There is still no transmog catalog system on a decade plus old MMO. There's no way to reroll pet talents, even though multiple people, I would even say the entire community, has been asking for this pretty much since the inception of pets being meta in PvP, and since pets could be taken to mega. The multi-person mount glitch when entering a sigil is still in the game. It still plagues your ability to functionally quest with your friends or your second account on a multi-person mount, and has been in the game for years and is still not patched out. The devs time and time again countlessly turn around and buff broken cards that the community finally got you guys to nerf, specifically the shield gambits, because they were broken. Tri-shielding is still 0 pips, no matter how many times people told you, if you're going to add high damage shield gambits, you need to add pips to these cards. There's still 0 pips, and you turn around and buff broken cards in PvP just to rub salt in the wound to make PvP even worse, which is, for some, the only worthwhile endgame content you have. You release a world once a year, and more often than not, it's super mediocre, and this time you released an entire dungeon months after, and people are still complaining about that and critiquing that. The League system was a complete and utter failure and a waste of development manpower, and I 1000% will always stand by that. Ratbeard, you literally said on stream that the League system would allow the devs to, quote, simulate how PvP used to be in First Age, end quote, but currently there's nothing like that because we have to play with your dev rules that you think that is how the game should be played, with the Rochambeau and these pips and stuff, which aren't even usable for any league below Premier because you abandoned low-level PvP, and the players hate it. They hate everything about the Rochambeau. Most of the PvP players, there are some people that enjoy it. Most of us hate it. Most of us hate having it forced. And the League system flopped completely. All you succeeded in doing was removing level 30, 15, 20, level 1 PvP. You didn't expand on low-level PvP pretty much at all, past the point of releasing, I believe, level 50 gear and level 100 gear, and that was years ago. After that, you just said, F it, we're not touching it anymore. You succeeded in killing tournaments, repeatedly talked about bringing them back, and they're still dead. Nobody does tournaments. It is a useless factor. It might as well be pet racing at this point. And actually, I'm going to insert this after editing this video. You also killed Team PvP as well, so thank you for that. You introduced Solar Surge and didn't bother finding a way to reimburse players for that training point. So again, players being forced to buy membership and being forced to wait for KI to flip the free training point buyback. Cloak was taken out of the game years and years and years ago because of a bug, and you still haven't managed to fix that card or reintroduce it in a PvP in any way, shape, form, or capacity. The gold key update for Spellements was one of the worst updates to ever hit Wiz, and still to this day, majorly gatekeeps people from PvP. And you guys swear by it. I don't know if it's making you a lot of money or whatever the case may be. I'm telling you right now, it's killing the game. People hate it. It absolutely needs to go for the longevity of this game, unless you are truly just trying to cash out and have people treat this game like a full-time job, countlessly doing daily quests and whatnot. I don't care what other notable creators' opinions are on it. The fact of the matter is, when we're talking about the longevity of the game and how people treat this game like a job, it was one of the worst updates in the game to date, and still is. You guys broke the ability to quest in Avalon and took a week to fix it and didn't bother reimbursing people that had a major roadblock in the main quest line. Didn't bother to reimburse them or really address it. You called it an easy fix, and then you moved on. And the people that wasted their membership had to go do something else. They had to go play trash PvP or get on their slightly higher level that was already past Avalon. Ridiculous. You completely changed how schools work based on the Rochambeau, which, again, nobody asked for. You kind of just put it in people's face and reworked the schools and said, this is the way the new school system is going to work, despite how radically it changed certain schools, completely destroying PvP even more. And honestly, that was a super pivotal point in pretty much making the community understand that it's either your way or the highway, and they had to play by your rules. You wait more than a year to add recipes to new lore spells added in packs, which is one of the most aggravating things, basically forcing players to open up their wallet, because for an entire year, the queue in PvP is going to be run by whales, and people that choose to spend a good chunk of their paycheck, $200+ by the way, in a pack is the average amount of money you have to spend, still current date, to get a tier 5 spell, which if you don't have, versing a mirror match against somebody who does, there is a very, very high chance you are going to lose. You make private discords with WizTubers and heavily act on feedback based on what they say. Now, this is a very controversial take. I'm not saying that as soon as a WizTuber says something, the devs do it. I have experience with giving feedback and then having changes made on it, but what doesn't rub me any sort of right way is the fact that you'll have someone like Liam complain about Storm over and over and over again. And then you guys actually answer the call and listen to the feedback because Storm is doing poor, and you'll buff a super good card like Rusalka and then immediately turn around and nerf it, give it some weird RNG blade factor, and then completely ruin the rest of the school. What was the point of the Discord if you were going to take advice from people that actually want to put themselves through the harassment of the toxic community that you guys do very little about? Take the advice, act on it, and then turn around and ruin it. 0 cents. It really just seems like you guys, instead of doing what the community asks for, you either make something up and tell the development team to actually design and code and make art for it, put it out, the community's like, nah, this isn't it. And then basically continue to force feed them until they're so fat of the BS that they stop complaining. That is literally what has been going on for the past couple of years. One of the best updates of all time, and I think still holds up to this day, was the 4 Dungeons update. It introduced crazy things like craftable mounts at the Mount Olympus crafter for any of you that have been around, all the OGs. It introduced Darkmoor, and it also introduced 3 other dungeons for lower level, and it had its own unique gear and wands that you could farm for as well. Regardless of the controversial factor, such as, oh, the Darkmoor update killed PvP, I am actually wanting to make the argument that that was the best update and the most fun that anybody had playing the game. It was the first time that Wiz had an actual controversial update and had people talking about it for years and years. There was never a time where you couldn't find a team for Darkmoor, and the gear was actually balanced. It was OP, but it was balanced for every school. And if you knew how to play a school, which there was multiple people doing max PvP, Darkmoor PvP that you could learn from. There were maybe 1 or maybe 2 schools that you would actually have to try hard on in order to be good in PvP. Right now, there are clear top tiers and schools that are just virtually unplayable at max. People non-stop complaining, and the devs have no idea or just don't really care to fix it. Instead, you want to implement raids that appeal to the 1% of players that like hardcore content. And I get it. Raids are hype. When Austin the Sauce does the whole raid stream thing, everybody watches. After he beats the raid, though, everybody figures out how to beat the raid, and it becomes boring to the community. It becomes genuinely boring. You spend an entire update releasing a raid for the 1% of players, which is basically 20 people, instead of giving people pet rerolling, pet stitching, mount stitching, instead of finding out a way to retrain training points that isn't for crowns, instead of making stitching not crowns, instead of fixing PvP, instead of making new PvP cards, instead of actually not abandoning low-level PvP, instead of making side worlds that feel great like Mount Olympus and Wisteria, or putting out new dungeons for lower-level PvP and higher-level PvP, instead of putting effort into a side world, you want to appeal to the hardcore 1% and YouTubers for a couple of streams. And I'm not bashing the WizTubers. I am just calling out how weird of a decision it is to pander to under 100 people and put so much manpower and design and development into something that lasts a couple good streams. It blows my mind how neglectful you are of this game. It's absolutely ridiculous. The magic is completely sucked out. You can't do any PvP other than the leagues that are out, which only have standard dev rules, and these leagues have been out forever. You haven't expanded on them. You haven't added any new rule sets. You haven't even really talked about PvP in a long time. Anything substantial about it. You just continue to ruin this game. And Ratbeard, I hope this video finds you, and I hope it stews on your soul. Because as the lead designer, you have been doing a pretty poor job of actually leading this game to be something that players would enjoy. Not something that you think you would enjoy, like this Rochambeau, this trash block system. The block system is completely garbage. It just is. Again, it's the situation of being force-fed until you're tired of complaining. There's just so many things wrong with the game, and you want to pander to the 1% and put out this stuff that nobody cares about. It sucks seeing a game that I really used to enjoy just going downhill, being overtaken by the toxic community, and having devs that just don't want to add anything meaningful and that players have been asking for. It just sucks.